Hi everyone and welcome back to Crochet Rocks. I'm just doing a couple of things, a little Whip Wednesday, which I'll do at the end. There's only 2 items, and this is an update on my first ever video, which was I think entitled something like how to hold your yarn hook and work. I've had a few people commenting recently about how I hold it and why. And the simple reason that my mum taught me that way, so that's the way I do it. But I've also learned over the years that holding it the way I do causes minimum stress on my joints. I've had people that I know of have had to stop because of tennis elbow or shoulder problems. Well, this way that I crochet makes minimal movement in your shoulder and elbow, and just it's mostly in the wrist and in the fingers mostly. But I'm not saying that there's a hard and fast way to do it and that any way is right or wrong. Just that I know people, let's position it, I know people that have had problems. And as a few people have asked me some questions about what I do with my fingers, I thought I would do an update because my first video, as you can appreciate, I was kind of new and nervous and didn't really know much about getting the angle right. So I've started one of my willow squares. The tutorial for this is up now for a crochet along, and I've got to this point so that I can show you. Now I hold my yarn between these 2 fingers. That way these 2 fingers can open and close and give it a good flow or limit the flow. That with my hook in my other hand, which I hold like a pen, means that I have absolute control over it. So it's quite easy really for me to try and explain it to you because I've been doing it for so long, and I know when you're used to doing it a certain way it's hard to change, but if you have to change for any reason, then I hope this helps. So yeah, holding the yarn, I just loop it over this finger and I kind of secure it with this one, and I can loosen that or tighten it as need be. I hold my work with this hand and I yarn over and I put and so I'm going to do a treble crochet, and it's quite easy to control how much yarn I use out. Sometimes as well I can just hold it here if I want to do some chains and they're quite long, then you can just move it about. And if I've got chains and I need to go into a double crochet in US terms or a treble, I sometimes loop this finger in just to give me a little bit more purchase on it, rather than, because sometimes when you've got a large chain, I've noticed that when you come to do a treble crochet, I know I'm not doing this willow square right, and I can't get in there because that's it. I've got to account for this gimbal. If you're doing that, when you go in, this chain can sometimes go round, and it's easy to just keep going, but it can be difficult to see. So I use my finger just to loop into there and keep it away so that I can see what I'm doing. Like that. It's quite easy. I know I'm going in the wrong spot for my willow square, but now my because I've been touching it, it's starting to squeak, so you can probably hear that. But that's basically how I hold it. I'm not saying that that's the right way. If you're quite happy holding it like a knife, but I've seen quite a lot of people doing an awful lot of movements that seem, you know, the whole arm is moving, and that is a repetitive strain at the end of the day, and sometimes that causes a lot of problems. So that's all I do, just hold it loosely, but then I can control these fingers by tightening them if I need to. So that's my next treble crochet, and I've now got a squeaky hook. Oh, I hate squeaky hooks. It's because I've got really hot. But yeah, it's quite simple. That's all I do. This, if I've got like a large piece of crochet, then sometimes this hand kind of loops onto it as well, just to hold the weight of it. So I kind of hold on to both. But this is fairly small, so it's quite easy. And I can hold it, then let go when I need to go in. It's just basically that. So my Whip Wednesday for you then. One of these items you've seen. I might have mislaid it. Oh, that's handy. Good job I did show it in my live then, isn't it? I made a little donut, but you've seen those anyway, and I just wanted to show you because a lot of people have asked to see it. Once it was completed, I have finished the twiddle muff. What I've done is I've used lots of different textured yarns. So I've got quite a fluffy, chunky bobble stitch. And then you may remember the beanie hat that I made, which was a bag-a-day beanie. Then I've got a kind of a fluffy, like teddy bear wool. This one is from a Caron Panton. And then I've got the loopy yarn, which I made the blanket with. And both ends have the Poundland yarn, which is very similar to the USA Bloom. And so that's it. But you can, if you want to, sew some buttons on it, because it's really designed for people with dementia or other neurological deficit to feel. Your hands, you can put the hands in, and inside they can feel the loops of this and the fluffiness and the rougher part of this, because a lot of them sit and they do this and they twiddle, and there's been cases where people have completely twiddled away their clothing because they do this all the time. But the textures are designed to stimulate their senses and feelings and memories. So you can sew on buttons, you can put bows on it. A lot of people, I've seen lots of things like pom-poms on it and buttons. So I might sew on a few buttons before I take it into the hospital. Sorry, I'm moving my camera. But yeah, it's kind of trying to, I'll have to move it out a bit, I think, to get the size. It's actually sort of like a muff, you know, old-fashioned muff for the winter time. So that's my whip. And the other one was just another one of the delicious donuts, which someone's eaten, obviously, because I can't find it now. But there's a tutorial on there, parts 1 and 2, if you want to make the delicious donut. So just have a look at my playlists. So thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and I will upload fairly soon part 3 of the willow square blanket crochet along. I'm giving you some time to make some squares before I do part 3, which will be how I attach mine and some other ways that you can attach it if you want to. So thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.